Podcast Network. The light shines brightest on our indie podcasts.
Warning, the following podcast may occasionally contain strong language and material that is not suitable for all ages. If you are easily offended, it is highly advised that you turn back now. However, if you're a degenerate, welcome, brethren. You've found your home.
Hello, friends. Hi. Welcome to the Crime Diner. If this is your first time dining with us, we share stories of true crime, cults, mysteries, historical hilarities, and all sorts of weird shit. We do this within a dinner with friends theme. I'm Nydia.
I'm Dana.
And I'm Cindy.
This is the part where I remind you that you don't need to stick around during the banter that we're about to produce. We have timestamps. So if you don't want to hear us chat and be friends and have dinner and talk about food, so you can skip ahead to those if you're just here for the exceptionally researched story.
That's right.
I'm really banking on Dana to have researched the shit out of this.
I got an 11-pager on my hands today. So yeah, it's a research story.
All right. If you're not a robot, then stick around and hear us talk about our lives and how we fail at it at every single step of the way.
That's right. And if you do stick around, you're the true MVP. You're the winner.
We've had a few stick-arounds,
That's right.
That later comment on, little things that we've said.
Some people are appalled that we include timestamps, but we're just trying to be courteous to those who simply don't care.
Who really just come here for the meat and potatoes.
That's right.
Quote, unquote, meat and potatoes. So, last week I told you about the horrifically sad and senseless Girl Scout murders at Camp Scott. It went unsolved for years until last month when DNA finally came through and, proved with, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I would say.
Yeah.
And so if you're here for that story, that was last week.
I remember hearing that story years and years ago and just being like, wow, this is so fucked up. And
it's so many levels.
That it got solved a couple of weeks ago is very exciting in, the advancement of science. At least for the families,
Listen, I want all of the DNA to solve problems.
Absolutely.
All of it.
You're like, fuck privacy. Who cares?
No, not necessarily, but
there's a part of me that definitely feels that way.
Yeah, if there's crimes that have been committed and they can be solved.
It is such this weird tightrope that we walk of the better science gets, the less privacy we have.
Oh my God,
and it is so it makes your brain hurt when you think about it,
Yes. So let's ignore it.
Yeah, please.
Let's sweep it under the rug real quick.
Let's think about deep space instead.
Yeah, sure. Tell me about your story.
This week I'm going to tell you about two women who met in Wiley, Texas, and the tragic events that ended one of their lives once their paths cross. I chose this story because a miniseries just dropped on Hulu starring Jessica Biel and Melanie Linsky. Yeah.
Is it Candy?
Yes.
Oh my God, I want Candy.
Yeah.
Really?
You don't want Candy, but yes.
I don't.
Yeah. Did you watch?
Shit, no, but I want to.
You should. That's a very interesting story.
Oh my God.
I'm going to tell you all about it.
Awesome. But first, the food.
Let's do it.
Let us pray. Bless us, O patrons, for these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy donations through Patreon every month under the power of the podcast cult. Ooh, oh my God.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's like a pulled pork situation.
It certainly looks like it. Burn ends, maybe?
It's not.
What is it?
It's brisket.
Fuck, I love brisket. It's my favorite. Love it so much.
Okay. Weirdo.
You got brisket. I use a Texas recipe for this. I even went as far as using Texas Stubbs barbecue sauce and smoke. And then I have Texas caviar pasta, Texas toast. All of this, FYI, you know those Texas Roadhouse recipes? Texas Roadhouse, the first one was built in Indiana. Fuck all the way off Texas Roadhouse. How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
Can I guess the theme?
Please.
Yeah.
Is it 1960s Florida?
Yes.
Sure.
Nailed it.
Sure. Damn it. Good.
The drinks in front of you are tajitos or mojitos made with Tito's vodka.
Perfect.
Which is also a Texas vodka.
All right.
Okay.
All
I was
right.
wondering where we were going this.
We're going to Texas, my friend.
All right. Thank you.
We're going straight to Texas.
Oh, I don't want to go there. Their policies are shit.
Oh, we're not going there. We just
We're just going to eat there, yeah.
Let's eat, bitch. How about that brisket?
How about it?
It was briskety.
It was real smoky.
Ooh,
Was
yes.
Like the stubs, probably?
The subs.
She
smoke.
said that.
Yeah.
No, I'm asking.
That's why
I'm
she's
just asking.
repeating.
I can eat brisket. Brisket's my fucking favorite,
Really?
like barbecue-y type meat situation.
Uh-huh.
Meat that just like falls apart and like falls off the bone and is like soft or whatever is truly the reason that I am not a vegetarian.
Oh, well, I mean, I have so many reasons I'm not a
I mean,
vegetarian.
I could pull pescatarian off because I think like salmon and like fish that like flakes apart like that
Right.
sort of gives me that same
vibe.
Yeah, exactly. But brisket's my fucking favorite. I love it so much. That was delicious. Real smoky, real flavorful. I really liked the cowboy caviar. Is that what you call it?
Texas caviar.
Texas caviar. I liked it. I will agree with you that the beans and the pasta was a strange mouthfeel, but I'm into it.
Yeah, you went in for seconds.
I had seconds, yeah.
Wow.
I loved it.
I've had Texas caviar before.
Yeah.
I like Texas caviar, but the consistencies have to be the same. So beans all have the same like crunch soft.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's why I used to hate beans when I was a kid, because I was like, I didn't like the skin on the bean. I used to always say that. I'd be like, I don't like the skin on the bean. And my mom would be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
it's like a weird
it's like a-
texture to
It's
me.
like a crunch then soft, like corn.
Yeah.
Crunch then soft.
Uh-huh.
So corn and beans are part of the Texas caviar. So are tomatoes.
Yeah.
Crunch and soft.
Right.
Right? But then the pasta is just soft.
Right.
So it throws my mind off. And Cindy said that the pasta was an addition that a little spin that she did.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a hit for me, even though I did eat it because the flavors were there.
The flavors
she
are
had
so there.
red onion, and I fucking love red onion, even though it makes me gassy as a mofo.
So wait, I don't love red onion, but in these kind of things I do. Like I hate it on a sandwich. I hate it on a sandwich because it's like a little too much for me.
I like it in a pasta
But
salad.
I don't mind it in a pasta salad. I don't mind it like mixed in things. Love it.
I don't mind
Here
it in
for
a salad, period.
It depends on the like whatever is like breaking down the salad. So this is some sort of citrusy situation happening.
A little bit of citrusy, a little bit of Italian dressing, a little bit, yeah.
So like that kind of like breaks it down a little bit, and I guess it takes away from that like pungent flavor of the purple onion or whatever, red onion, whatever it is.
Listen.
So it's fine for me. It's a yes. It's a yes for me, dog.
Okay, yeah, it's a no from me, dog. But I still ate it like a fucking peasant.
Obviously.
The brisket for me was like,
Yeah.
I gauge these things by hard nipple, soft nipple. I really like it.
You going 1 and 1?
Yes, I would say one nipple got hard for this.
Perfect. Love that.
But I'm not a barbecue person.
Okay.
The Texas toast, I was all about that. Except for there are a few ways to fuck up Texas toast.
We were both like, you can't fuck up Texas toast. Turn the toast over. I'm like, uh-oh.
I showed them the non-burnt side.
Bitch put it all golden brown faced up and turned it over. I'm like, murr, murr.
It wasn't that burnt, but
No,
yes,
it
it had a little bit of charred.
Talk about deceptive practices.
Yeah.
I mean,
You can't trust
Absolutely.
her.
You can't.
Can't trust her as far
Absolutely.
as you can throw her.
And when y'all look at the pictures on Instagram and all of our socials, it will be the golden perfect side, okay?
So all
I'm
you
not gonna lie.
bitches that comment on Thursday on all the Instagram and they're like, Cindy, your food looks so good. It's so, oh my God, I wish I had that. I'm gonna remind you all now.
Yeah.
It was burnt on the other side. Don't let her.
It wasn't that burnt. It was still edible burnt.
It was still edible. I'll give you that. I have a problem in my life.
Uh-huh.
Certainly a problem in my life. No matter what,
Right.
I will not set a timer. Like, simply refuse.
I
Fucking
mean,
hate it.
Are you doing it on purpose or do you just forget?
To set a timer?
Uh-huh.
I mean, now at this point, like, I'm just, like, on a hard, fast, like, rule in my life that I'm just like, well, you having to set a timer this whole time? You might as well not now. And I burn the bread every fucking time. Thanksgiving, I burn the rolls. Birthdays, I burn the rolls. Christmas, I burn the rolls. And everybody's like, set a fucking timer. Set a timer. I don't know why you don't set a timer. And I'm like, I don't need a timer.
It's your fucking signature look.
So I can feel that the rolls are burned, so I bring them out.
Pretty much, I smelled it and I was like, ooh.
That's how you know they're done.
That's how I know. But I do, and I have been using Alexa. Everybody's Alexa going off now. For my oven now, because it's just so much easier to yell at her, set a timer, and then she's been going off. So it's been perfect. Yeah. I will say one thing. This brisket was good, but my brisket that I make the homemade barbecue sauce is no joke.
We're not talking about your brisket, bitch. We're talking about this brisket.
I am going to say,
oh my
mine
God.
knocks
Here
that one out of the water.
Just
I've
make
got to
your
say,
brisket then.
no, because I'm following a Texas.com recipe, and I wanted to do their recipe. But I gotta say, my shit's better.
She wanted to make your recipe and then come on and trash it. How her recipe
Absolutely,
right? She's like, but mine's better. So
hey, I didn't know if it was gonna be better. I was trying something out,
all right.
and I gotta say, my homemade barbecue sauce, it's better.
Better than Stubbs?
Better than Stubbs.
She just fucking said it with her chest.
Better than Stubbs, this bitch said.
In this case,
with her chest.
In this case, yes.
All right.
I won't say, like, I still love Sweet Baby Ray's.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, that's still a classic.
Yeah.
You know, but mine is better than this particular recipe. Let's put it that way.
I bet you some barbecue sauce aficionado is probably seeing that as you talking about ragu versus prego.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They are trash talking every second of the me comparing Stubbs to Sweet
How about
Baby
this
Ray's.
drink though?
The drink is making my jowls
Stop.
Yeah, like it's so fucking good. It's so good, but it's making my jaw or cheeks have a sensation.
Okay, well, I suggest that you just down it halfway because these are in mason jars.
Right, okay.
That's the technique, really.
That's your technique.
And
that does great for us every week, yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to say, so when I follow the recipe of the drink and then I pour it into the mason jar, it barely touches the quarter of the mason jar line. Yeah. And I am like, oh, well, this simply will not work. We need 3 more drinks of this to make 1 mason jar work.
Perfect.
So
Cindy,
basically, y'all are getting 3 drinks in 1 mason jar.
So that's why Nydia needs a liver replacement because of you.
Can we talk about my liver?
We should.
Can we talk about my liver? I went to a birthday party on, I want to say last Saturday.
Yeah,
last Saturday. And there was blue icing on the cupcakes, right? Today's fucking Friday of the following week. I'm still pooping blue icing. And I'm like, is my liver okay?
I think...
It must be working if it's moving its all way on out.
It's just chugging along real slow.
No, when I'm talking blue, I'm talking blue
It's probably
crayon.
just all caked in your intestines. All the food that you've been eating this past week is just picking it up a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Gross. I really hate that visual for everyone. Really hate it. I'd like to add to that, if you will. I see your blue poo.
Got it. And you're going to raise me.
Yeah. I went and saw The Dollop live in Philly last week.
This past Sunday, right?
Yeah. And I loved The Dollop. So good. The live show was so good.
I like to think that this podcast is kind of like The Dollop.
I mean, it's my dream. They did a true crime episode and everything.
Did they?
Yeah, they did this.
They do a lot of historical,
It was a historical crime of this whole poisoning that happened in Philly, where probably thousands of people were killed by these
oh my god.
Yeah, witches. It was actually a really good.
Witches?
These
Stop.
old Italian / Jewish witches. Yeah, it was actually really interesting.
Holy shit, Italian / Jewish?
Yeah, there was these 3 people that were like old-timey like mafias, like in the early 20s. Like the late 1800s, the early 1900s. Like right around the Great Depression, like when it first started. And they literally were like selling potions to like
Pause.
Yeah.
Pause.
Uh-huh.
Podcast pause.
Yeah.
How could you be Italian and Jewish? Isn't that like cancel? Wait, Italian is the ultimate in Catholic. And
no,
then
not
there's
always.
Jewish.
Well, there's people who are Jewish who live in Italy.
Got it.
Okay, but
so
this is not
that
what
was their case.
No, like they were just happened to be Italian, and the guy like meets a guy who happens to be Jewish, and they both live in Philly.
Got it.
And they were like, I'm an Italian witch. And he's like, oh, that's so convenient. I'm a Jewish witch. We should like be witches together. And like con all of these people. And basically what they were doing was like buying life insurance policies on men, pretending they were the men, and then the women would kill their husbands. And
I love that so much.
Yeah, it was great. And they were like, in the end, like thousands of men were killed. It was really, really wild.
Sounds like a good plan, actually.
Yeah, it was great. Anyway, so I went and saw the doll. Very good. Right. When I get there, two things happen, and it took me a couple of days to figure out what happened.
Pause. Podcast pause.
Podcast pause.
Did you bring meatloaf cupcakes?
I did. I didn't even get to meet them.
I'm going to pause, and I'm going to say,
God damn it.
For the listeners, Dana went to one of the very first live episodes that My Favorite Murder did in Philly, and she brought them meatloaf cupcakes.
I was in Pittsburgh, but yeah.
In Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Still Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Okay, I call Philly Pennsylvania.
All of Pennsylvania is Philly.
All of Pennsylvania is Philly. In my geography book.
Yes, and we know how good your geography book is.
If you've listened to any episodes, you know how good my geography is.
Yeah.
How solid it is. Mm-hmm. I have a master's in geography.
Mm-hmm.
So Dana brought them meatloaf cupcakes, and they talked about it on 3 episodes.
I'm joking on.
They talked about it on 3 fucking episodes about Dana's meatloaf cupcakes.
It's my claim to fame.
It is. So.
Well, I didn't get to meet the dollop.
Oh.
I didn't get to meet them. 2 things happened, and it took me a bunch of days to figure out exactly what happened here. If you'll recall last week,
right,
I told you that I got a weird tick bite.
Right.
And I had to get on a very strong antibiotic.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to go with that was the culprit.
Okay.
About what happened here.
What happened?
So I had taken the antibiotic. I've been taking the antibiotic.
Right.
I got to the dollop, and the dollop had specialty beers they had made. So if you listen to the dollop in the very beginning of when they say, Dave Anthony screams the date, he'll be like, April 27th, blah, 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 the year of our Lord Jesus Christ. And it's so funny. Haha. Well, they had these specialty beers called the Beer of Our Lord, which was very funny. And their cans look like these Catholic candles, and they were very funny and whatever. So we got a beer.
Did you bring one home for?
Yes.
Wait, you went with somebody else?
Well, my boss was supposed to come with me. She got sick, so I brought a lady friend with me.
Okay.
Which makes the story even worse. So anyway, I get 2 specialty beers, and they have this like food truck, but inside, so it was just a little restaurant, but it looked like a food truck. It was cool. It was really cute in there.
Oh.
And so I got 2 pizzas and 2 beers, little like personal pizzas.
Right.
And they were like, the bottoms looked like Elia's, like they had little holes in them. They were just like frozen pizzas.
Right.
Nothing crazy. But I was shaking. I was like so hungry when I got there. I was like really, really shaking hungry.
Right.
So I scarfed down this pizza. Drink the beer. So fun. Great episode. So funny. Everybody's laughing. Very fun.
Right,
so much fun. I'm driving home from Philly.
God, isn't that the dream, though?
What?
For us to go live.
I mean, I was like thinking about it the whole time. Like, this would be so fun.
That could be us, but our listeners play too much.
But they play too much. Yeah, exactly.
They're like, fuck these bitches.
Yeah. So, and of course, like, I think about it in my head, like, how this whole thing would go down, about how our meet and eats and the whole bit, like.
I mean, we did do the one live.
The one, yeah.
Yeah, and that was fun.
So anyway, I'm driving home, and the girl I was with, she was like, do you want to stay the night? And I was like, I had brought my work clothes. I had to work the next day. I'm like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. But on the ride home, my stomach was like, I'm like, I think it's a bad idea. I don't think I should stay. So we get back to her house, like petting her dogs, whatever. I'm like, she's
petting
like,
her dogs.
Yeah,
sure.
I was, you asshole.
You weren't petting her cat?
No. I was not.
Okay.
I was not.
Cindy's about to snort.
I'm hiding my face in shame of you.
Very good. Very good.
Weird detail to add about the dog, but go on.
My point was, I didn't go right home. There was a lunar eclipse that night, so we were trying to catch the lunar eclipse, whatever. So I was hanging out for a little bit, trying to catch a lunar eclipse. It wasn't. We were an hour off. I guess she misread it. We were an hour off because I saw it on the way home. So she's like, stay, and I'm like, you know what? I just don't. My stomach was like, do not stay.
Please
do
don't.
not stay.
Yes.
And my brain was like, I think it'll be fine, but my stomach was like, simply no. Simply no. So I listened to my stomach and I go home. And she was about an hour from me. So I'm driving home and I called her because I was like, I had turned and I saw that the lunar eclipse was happening as I was driving home. So I called her and I was like, oh my God, you're missing it. Go outside and go check the lunar eclipse.
This is the first time hearing about a lunar eclipse.
It was fucking amazing.
Wow.
It was like a full lunar eclipse. It was really great. And so we're talking on the phone and I was like sweating. Like everywhere. Like my whole body was sweating. My whole, like my arms were sweating. Like my forearms were sweating. I was like, oh my God, I'm like really sweating. So I like cranked up the air and I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? And I'm like, I said, can I talk to you tomorrow? Because I was just like, the conversation was like, I couldn't maintain
right.
whatever was happening with my body and the conversation. I was like, I'm gonna have to call you back.
You couldn't maintain really decorum.
Nauseous and like I was watery mouth and I'm not really sure if I was gonna throw up or not. It was late, you know, the lunar eclipse happened at like 11:30, so it was late, you know? And so, but there was still a lot of kind of cars on the road, so I kept thinking like, do I have to pull over and like on the side of the road?
And puke or poop?
I wasn't sure. Like I truly wasn't sure.
It was gonna be like a fucking firecracker situation.
I was not sure, so I was like, I can't pull it. And then I kept being like, there's too many cars. Like, if someone pulls over to see if I'm okay, like, it would be a scene.
Yes,
like,
it would.
It would be a full fucking scene.
You could get a ticket for indecency.
And, like, I was just like, how do you even make that, like, what are the logistics of this? Like, how do you, but, like, it's all back, like, farms and shit in New Jersey. Like, it's Farmville.
Yes.
Like, I was passing blueberry fields and shit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Blueberry fields forever.
Right. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Fucking thank God.
What happened?
A
Porta
church.
potty.
Fucking Wawa.
A church.
No. It might as well have been a fucking church. There was a Wawa in the middle of goddamn nowhere. And I'm like, yeah, a super Wawa on top.
That feels very New Jersey.
Yes.
Yes.
A super Wawa in the middle of fucking nowhere, a gas station. And you know, a super Wawa got full bathrooms.
That's
You're
the
like,
place
you're
to
good
poop.
to go. Yeah. And I was like, oh, thank fucking God. I pulled into the spot and I was like, I can't get up. I need to like squeeze everything in before I get out of the. I'm not kidding you. I was like, breathe it out. I like took a beat, went into Wawa. It was very unfortunate. I was in there for a long time, like probably 20 minutes.
Really?
Like it was so long. Finally, when I like felt safe to like get up.
Did anybody walk in?
No, it was late. It was late. There was like nobody in the.
Got it.
And I like ran past the people at the counter, and then I was in there for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And when I came out, I was like,
covering your face.
And I was like, do I buy something? Like, no, I'm fucking beating feet out of here.
Really?
Like, oh my God.
Common courtesy.
I don't care. I was like, that was embarrassing. I was like, whatever. I could never go to that Wawa. Not that they even. I mean, but whatever.
Mark it off the map.
It doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh my God.
I go home and
could you imagine if it wasn't there?
Oh my God.
Could you imagine if that was could you imagine if that was a mirage?
Honestly, I still had like 30 minutes to go and like I almost couldn't get out of the car. So like there was like a serious consideration of like, what am I going to do if some store doesn't pop up here like that I could go to the bathroom. It was so fucked up.
Wait, do you have a contingency plan for that?
I should get one because I truly was like,
yes.
I mean, I was like searching in my car, like, what are we doing here?
Honey.
What are we doing here?
My son used to play travel baseball.
Uh-huh.
And we would get up at 5 and sometimes come home at 2:00 in the morning. If it was like a tournament or something and he would have to like play all day and just continue to play. And I tell you that I have an aversion to porta potties. I refuse.
Yeah, they're disgusting.
I simply refuse. So I had a contingency plan.
Okay, what is it?
Always keep a bottle, an empty bottle, preferably with a wide enough opening. So like, what's that? Tennessee tea? Not Tennessee tea. What am I talking about? Snapple. Snapple. A Snapple bottle with a cap. And a cardboard box.
I was going to say, honey, I'm not quite sure I'm expressing to you what happened in this fucking
No. That would be one wet cardboard box.
No, you just leave it in the street.
It's not coming for the fucking ride.
No, you just leave it right there. It'll decompose. It's fine.
I'm sorry. I can't leave that. You remember that movie 7?
Yes.
Where he's like, what's in the box? What's in the fucking box? I can't leave that for somebody
Either way,
to
you
open.
just don't look at it just like it.
I mean,
you
none
take
of
the
that.
risk.
We can't. We simply can't. I mean, we must have some
you made
decorum.
it to a bathroom.
So anyway, I got home. I went to bed. Whatever. The next day, I took the antibiotic again, and I immediately felt ill again. And I was like, okay, it's the antibiotic. It's making my stomach. It's like a super strong antibiotic. Whatever.
Okay.
So I.
Oh my god! And you had a beer with antibiotic. That's what did it.
I guess maybe the
beer,
the cheese on the pizza. I mean, it could have been. It was just
a number.
And
of
I think I ate the antibiotic. I took the antibiotic. Way before I ate the food. I should have ate the food first and saved the antibiotic for about. I don't know. Whatever. It was a series of unfortunate events. This basically is what happened.
Antibiotics will always tear a stomach up.
Oh my god.
Yeah. No matter what you
have
eat.
not been right since because I still have 2 more days. I have 1 more day. I have 1 more day of the antibiotic. So
also,
how's the tick bite?
Gone, thankfully.
Good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Also, for those who do not know what a Wawa is, I mean, that is our
7-Eleven.
It's like a bougie 7-Eleven.
It's a very bougie 7-Eleven. I would never say it's a 7-Eleven. Fuck 7-Eleven.
A convenience store.
It's a convenience store. Yeah.
It's the epitome of convenience stores.
Oh, you are indoctrinated. Look at yourself.
I sure am. I worked there for 12 years.
Their salads are trash.
Now, I will tell you, back in the day, they used to have this macaroni and beef. And, it sounds so gross. It was so good. It was like a bougie Chef Boyardee. It was my favorite fucking thing to eat.
Can I just tell you, bougie Chef Boyardee?
It was.
That's
Sorry about it.
That's ironic.
Sorry about it. It was.
Also, their coffee is my go-to if I'm out on the road.
Okay, all right.
I think you're
People love it.
partial.
People love it.
I go to Starbucks and I don't find it that great.
Let's just agree to disagree.
But you're a bougie bitch, though.
What does bougie have to do with Starbucks?
Starbucks is a little fancy pants.
Yeah, I can buy 3 cups of coffee at Wawa with the one I buy at Starbucks, and they'd be double the size each one.
I literally order 3 things off the Starbucks menu.
Yeah.
The egg bites,
Mm-hmm.
a caramel macchiato in the winter. I'm such a basic bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And a vanilla sweet cream cold brew iced coffee
Gotcha.
in the summer. That's it.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
I
not
don't know about that.
Dunkin' Donuts has done me wrong.
Yeah, people.
Many times.
Starbucks people
never
hate Dunkin'.
I would never touch a Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Y'all are crazy.
There you go. See?
Oh my god, it tastes like pure ashtray.
What?
Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
She doesn't drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee. So.
Let's move on from this conversation
Yeah.
and have some dessert. Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you. Is it a Texas sheet cake?
It's a Texas sheet cake.
Yes,
It's a
bitch.
white Texas cheesecake. It's actually
sheet cake.
Sheet cake.
Don't toy with me with cheesecake, bitch.
Oh, wait a minute.
It's not cheesecake. Sheet cake.
Sheet cake.
Almond.
It smells like poop.
What?
But
That's because of Dana's shit talk.
I'm having trouble smelling things this morning.
Bitch, if you have COVID, I'm
I
gonna
don't
be so
have-
mad.
We are
I've
all-
already had every flavor of COVID already. Unless a new COVID came out, I don't
Hey,
have
you never
it.
know.
That's very
I have
possible.
Vicks up my nose.
Oh. Well, then you
stop
can't say
sniffing
about
the
what things
Vicks.
smell like. I can't smell it, but it looks fantastic. We love a sheet cake.
It's really good.
Almond flavor.
It's almond flavor.
Let's go.
Ooh.
What do you think about Texas sheet cake?
It was the sheet.
It really was. It really, really was. Did you use almond extract?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it Right in the face with almond.
Right in the face. You know what? The almond was just like, it was like a throat punch.
Uh-huh.
In a good way.
Wait, is it a buttercream?
So it's very unique. You actually boil the butter and the milk and all of that to make it. It wasn't like
because it was real thick. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not your typical buttercream where you put it in the mixer and you slowly get it together.
Yeah.
This is not. This was, I boiled the butter with the cream and then added the powdered sugar in the pan. It was just
fantastic.
Very good
process.
Yeah.
It was a process. Same with the actual cake. The actual cake, you also boiled some of the ingredients before you started.
Really?
What's going on in Texas?
I don't know, but it made
there?
it very moist and tasty.
I'm into it.
Yeah,
I'm into it. I love the texture. The icing was very sweet.
Yeah.
Very, very sweet. It was good with the cake because the cake was real thick.
Right.
And so I did pick some of the icing off just because it was like so sweet and so thick. But yeah, I was into it.
It's one of those cakes that if you have a sweet tooth, a little will do you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Also, a little cup of milk. If you can do milk.
My tummy can't do it, but I love it so much. It really would have been great.
I think something like that, a little side of something like that, something stable while you ate it.
Or even if you doubled the cake and, use the one, or have the icing, whatever, just to have like a little thinner layer of it.
Let me just tell you, these kind of cakes that are so sweet are perfect for when you're dieting because you only literally need a tiny piece to like satisfy you.
Yeah, it was fantastic though.
Yeah, I had to have a second piece of Texas toast, another little bit of drink. And
I don't think you needed the second drink.
No,
even though you
literally bullied me into it.
Well, here's the thing. Do you want me to choke? I'm eating Texas toast. No. I know you want me to choke. Dana, thank you very much. I'm on to you.
After you trash talked my extra crispy Texas toast.
That's right. She was like, pass over some toast.
I'll eat it burnt at this point.
It's not burnt. It's extra crispy. Thank you very much.
Thank you
We
very
talked
much.
about sugar hitting you. The almond extract hitting you in the throat.
Right.
You know what else is hitting in the throat?
What?
There's a trend at my middle school that I teach at where kids are punching each other in the neck.
Oh my God.
Yes. And it caused a kid to have a seizure in the bathroom.
Oh my God.
Because another kid punched another kid in the neck so hard.
What do you mean in the neck? Where exactly?
You know,
in the
like
back
a
of
neck
the neck
punch.
and the throat.
In the back or in the front, wherever you can get them. And it's like a trend. And I'm like, are you fucking serious?
That's unfortunate.
Middle school.
My mom always said,
you know, you were the one that would like cut circulation.
Karate chop. Yeah, with the California head rush. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved that. But I was a young little druggie, so that was like my first time.
In middle school, Dana?
I was doing that in like 5th and 6th grade, yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. You were using drugs in 5th and 6th grade.
No, the California head rush.
Well, yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was like the preview. It's like I remember someone saying to me, like one of the first times I got high, this kid was saying to me, like, we were talking about spinning around in a chair, and he's like, it's the first legal high, man. Like when you spin around in a chair, and I was like, oh my God, that's so true.
Was he wearing tie-dye?
He was, yeah. Definitely. Am I currently wearing tie-dye?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, the California head rush. I mean, it would be like spinning around in the chair, and then California head rush, then whippets, then smoking pot.
Is that the order?
I mean, like, those feel like, they gradually get progressively, like, more.
Oh my God.
And then from there, we don't need to list drugs, but I'm just saying.
I have literally never done drugs. Never.
Really?
Ever.
Interesting.
Why don't you tell us your story?
I won't go there. I was about to talk about Patreon. Feel free to pay for Patreon and find out some more about Nydia.
And her non-drug use.
None of it. Clean. Completely clean.
Yeah, she's real clean.
Currently, maybe.
I also
doesn't talk with food in her mouth, and she doesn't drink alcohol.
I also never dated or wanted to date a rapist, but that's
oh my God,
that's a story for Patreon. Didn't I tell that story in Patreon?
Yes, you did.
Yes, you
yeah.
did.
He frantically looked around the back seat for something to soak up the 2 beers he had consumed earlier that evening, but found nothing. That is when a second idea formed in David's mind. He quickly and aggressively ripped out the crotch of his underwear and shoved the cloth deep into his mouth. As he began to chew, he felt a huge sense of defeat. There was no way he would be able to stomach that butt cloth he had partied in all.
Didn't that story just shake you to the core?
Would you like to hear more?
Then you've come to the right place. I'm Trevin.
And I'm Amanda.
And we're the hosts of Seriously Sinister, a true petty crime podcast.
Each week, we take a dramatic dive into real-life petty crimes.
They may make you laugh or cry, but they won't be like any other true crime stories you've heard.
Follow Seriously Sinister wherever you listen to your podcasts.
My sources today are Wikipedia, IMDb, Find a Grave, theancestry.com, texasmonthly.com, thenetline.com, and I listened to a book called Evidence of Love, A True Story of Passion and Death in the Suburbs. The Hulu miniseries. I've only watched the first 2 episodes so far. I don't know how many of them have come out yet, but it seems to be following the book very closely.
Really?
Yeah. So if you want to read the book, there's a lot of detail about the women's lives, how they, just a lot more background than you're gonna get obviously from me in an hour or so long podcast.
And what's this series?
It's called Candy on Hulu. Yeah. So let me tell you about Wylie, Texas. Originally, it was called Nickelville, reportedly after the name of the first store that was in the little town. It was organized in the early 1870s. When the store moved to be closer to the new railroad that was coming in, the town changed its name to Wylie after Lieutenant Colonel William D. Wylie.
I would have guessed a Wile E. Coyote. And been dead wrong.
Yeah. Wylie was an agent for the railroad, and he was a Civil War veteran.
Okay.
In the 1890s, Wylie had a population of about 400 people and a one-room school that was built. Unlike many rural Texas communities, Wylie grew during the Great Depression, reaching a height of 915 residents in the 1940s.
It more than doubled.
Yeah.
Shit, why?
In part, it was a result of the increased need for dairy farming to meet the needs of nearby Dallas, Texas. And following World War II, the population just continued to increase. Onions were the town's cash crop in the 30s and the 40s, and the town became known as Wide Awake Wylie. In the 1980s, around where this story takes place, the population was about 4,000 people, and now it's roughly 55,000 people.
Oh, shit.
So it's gotten to be quite a town, So this is all just to set the scene. Wylie in the 1980s was what people would call the Silicon Prairie. So there, is Silicon Valley, but there's many other parts of the country where there's a lot of tech booms. And that's, Dallas, Chicago, things like that. And they call it the Silicon Prairie.
Wow.
You may have heard of the company Texas Instruments.
Yeah.
That's a big tech company
I'm a
in
teacher,
Texas.
that's calculators.
Right, exactly. Lots of people were making a lot of money during the tech boom in the late 70s, early 80s here in Dallas and in the suburbs around it. So this is what would eventually bring Betty Gore and Candy Montgomery together in this small town. But let me tell you about the women separately. Betty Eileen Pomeroy was born January 9th, 1950, to parents Charles and Bertha Pomeroy. And she grew up in Norwich, Kansas, with her 2 younger brothers. People described Betty as plain but pretty, and she seemed to have, a pick of any of the boys in school. It sounds like she, sort of developed a little bit earlier than many of the other girls. Also, she liked to be this. She seemed to be the center of attention. I think she was on the homecoming court. She was fun and popular, and in her hometown, she was really liked by the community and just a nice girl. When you look at pictures of her, she seems like what you would think a 70s woman from the Midwest would look like. She was smart and driven, and she went to college to become a teacher.
Turn back.
She excelled in most of her classes except math, and she ended up having to be tutored by a teaching assistant who was Alan Gore. Alan was a nerdy guy who wore glasses, and in his early 20s had already had a receding hairline. And much to her family's shock, Betty falls for him. She loves him. Betty and Alan get married in a tiny ceremony in January 1970. The couple moved around a little bit before they settled in Texas, where Betty got a teaching job in Wiley. Now, before we go any further with Betty and Alan's story, let me introduce you to Candy Montgomery. Candace Candy Lynn Wheeler was born November 15th, 1949. Candy grew up in and around El Paso, Texas, and she was like kind of a free spirit, you know? She had a boyfriend in high school. She thought she would marry him. She was very intrigued by sex, like many young people are, and, you know, she had lots of questions about it. Her mom gave her a book to read, whatever. When she finally lost her virginity, it wasn't really the fireworks she was hoping for.
That's
same,
literally
girl. Yeah.
everyone.
Same.
It was just like, that's it.
Yeah, basically. She ended up not staying with that high school boyfriend, but dated around a bit in her early 20s. And she decided that she was bored and she wanted to have kids. She always wanted to be a mom, and she never really imagined being a wife, which fucking same. Like, I always wanted to be a mom, but I never, like, was the person that, like, pictured my wedding and wanted to get married and all of that shit. And, like, so, like, that really spoke to me, like, on a level of, like, yeah, I want to have kids, but, like, who cares who the partner is, you know?
I never wanted either.
Really? Yet you've had so many of both.
I mean, thank you for pointing out my failed marriages. I love that. Love that for me.
I love that for you, too. So she set out to find a man. She had a coworker who was a lot older than her, and she wanted to set her up on a date with her son when he came into town. And that would be Pat Montgomery. He lived in Dallas, and he was a mechanical engineer for Texas Instruments. And when he got to town to visit his parents, his mom set them up on a date. When he first sees Candy, he thinks she has a double chin and she's too chunky. Thank you. And she thought he was handsome, but very boring. She's like, oh, God, he's so lame.
I'd rather have the double chin and have a personality.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, honestly.
Truly.
I have a double chin.
I have a personality. He must have liked her personality despite her chinniness. And he agreed.
I can't stand you.
He asked her to go on a second date, and she agreed. She must not have thought his boringness was too bad, because she agreed to go on a second date with him. On the second date, they go on a ride through the sand dunes and to the drive-in. And immediately he asked her to go out on a third date the next day, and she's like, listen, just call me and we'll set something up. And he calls her the next day, and she ignores it. But he's not to be deterred. He goes back to Dallas and he sends her flowers. On the card, he says, hope you got the sand out of your pants. And she just fucking loved it. She loved it. She loved it so much. She was like, oh, I'm in it. She tells her friends that she met the man she would marry. And they're like, well, who is he? And she's like, I think his name is Peter.
Two chins be damned.
Also, his name is Pat. It's not Peter.
Wonderful.
They decided to date long distance until, to see if whatever. So they were like literally writing letters back and forth and calling on the phone. And, back in the 70s when you called on the phone, like, wow, that was some long distance. It's expensive,
Yeah. That was a commitment.
Truly. They decided to get married. And initially they settled in Colorado while Pat finished his PhD. And she fucking hates it there. She hates it.
In Colorado?
Yeah, she hated it.
It's beautiful there.
I know. Probably just because she was like away from her friends and family, I guess.
Also, it takes literally one beer to get drunk.
Right.
Come on.
So she wanted to have kids right away. And as soon as he graduated, they moved from Colorado back to Texas to Wiley. And he started his career at Texas Instruments. He had already been there, but he went to finish his PhD.
He wanted to make calculators.
Yeah.
Because that's actually literally all I know from Texas
No, he
Instruments.
was actually working on war things like bombs and shit. Like he was like, yeah,
are you fucking
for like
kidding
the war.
me?
Yeah. Like,
Texas Instruments are actually instruments of war?
He was like working on like things for like, yeah, like the war. Like he didn't have to go to Vietnam because he was like making shit for the war. Yeah. Yes.
I thought it was just calculators.
No. They're like a whole tech company. Yeah. They like happen to make these calculators, but like, yeah.
They're like Raytheon.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I was today years old.
Yes. I was yesterday years old, so don't feel bad.
Okay.
So both couples are in Wiley, Texas right now, but they don't know each other yet. Okay, they both are just happen to be living in this town.
They went on 3 dates and they're like separate.
No. I mean both couples, like the Montgomerys and the Gores.
Got it.
Betty and Alan don't know Candy and Pat yet, but they're both living in Wiley, Texas.
Okay.
Their paths have not crossed yet.
Wait, did you talk about the Montgomerys?
Candy and Pat are the Montgomerys.
I know them.
Yeah. Betty and Alan are the Gores.
Have you talked about them?
Yeah. They're
How
the
did they
ones
meet?
where he was her math tutor in the college.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, and the other ones were the blind date.
Yes.
Not the blind date, but the hookup.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
got it. The double chin?
Yes. That's
Got it.
Candy and Pat.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'm here. I'm up to date.
Betty was the one that was like developed a little bit early, and she married the balding.
She had the big tits.
The balding man. Yeah.
Got
big
it.
tits and balding man. Double chin, boring guy.
Got it.
Okay.
Ooh, that's how you should have introduced it, honestly. You dropped the ball, not me.
That's right. So Alan works in the tech industry as well. But for his job, he has to travel a lot.
Okay.
Out of town.
Okay.
Fucking Betty hates it. She hates it. She gets really upset when he has to leave town. And he had gotten called away early in their marriage to Switzerland for 6 weeks, and Betty is pissed. So he makes arrangements for Betty to come spend a week with him in Switzerland. And they both like describe this week in Switzerland as like the happiest time of their marriage. They really got to connect. They laughed. It was like a honeymoon sort of situation. They really loved it. Eventually, the traveling for work made Betty so distressed that she ended up calling Alan's boss and yelling at him for making Alan travel too much.
This was pre-Instagram. She should have just fucking done a travel blog.
This was this is like the early
yes.
70s. Yeah. Cindy just reacted to that. And I agree. Like that is like a big fucking deal to like call someone's boss and like.
Yes.
I am flabbergasted by that.
Yeah.
And I'm using
weird.
70s words.
Yeah.
Is it a 70s word?
I have no idea, but it's an older word.
But also this is a like, you know, just keep in mind, this is a highly educated woman. She's a school teacher. I'm going to talk a little bit more, but like looking back, I don't think had the words for like anxiety and depression and what she was probably struggling from, you know. He would eventually take a job in Dallas to be closer to home and to travel less. Betty and Alan had a daughter, Alyssa. After Alyssa was born, she had ostensibly postpartum depression.
Okay.
Her doctors like did not call it that. They were like giving her Valium and being like, "You'll feel better. Like it's fine." Like they also were being like, "Oh, she was getting sick in a way that like again, I'm not diagnosing her and like she doesn't say." But it sounds like it's like things were happening. Her stomach, her this, or that, and it feels like anxiety-induced illnesses. You know what I mean? Like headaches and body aches and stomach aches and all of these things that are like, you know, possibly side effects of postpartum, possibly side effects of depression, possibly side effects of like anxiety. We just don't know.
A number of things.
One of her doctors says that she has an infection because she's not having sex enough. So like that's the kind of mentality that the doctors were dealing with at this point.
Yes.
Female hysteria.
Yeah, basically, yeah, truly. And they're just like, here's a Valium, chill out.
Oh, here's a vibrator, chill out.
But it sounds like her doctors were not really listening to her and like what was actually wrong with her.
Or just didn't know.
They just didn't
know.
We're in 2020 and we still have problems with doctors actually diagnosing women.
2022.
Same difference. What I mean is
break it to you.
What I mean is we're in the 2020s. Add an S to that. But basically, you know, still now we have trouble getting male doctors in general to listen when we say we're not feeling good. X, Y, and Z. Oh, you're just fat, or you're just depressed, or you're just this. Oh, go work out.
Yeah.
Fuck all the way off.
Yeah, truly. So we don't really know exactly what her illnesses were or, you know, where they came from, but she was certainly struggling.
Okay.
Now, hopping back over to Candy and Pat, they had a daughter, Jenny, and Candy loved being a mom. This is what she wanted. She was really excited by it. She was an attentive mother and homemaker. Shortly after Jenny was born, they had a little boy named Ian, and, you know, she was like, I got one of each. tubes are tied.
Right.
Very 70s behavior.
Yeah.
Candy and Pat joined the Methodist Church of Lucas to raise their children like godly or whatever and build a community with their neighbors.
Got it.
This is where the two women's paths would cross.
I mean,
Alan-
anytime you add church.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing for all involved.
Yeah.
Alan and Betty were also members of the Lucas Church as well. I wouldn't really call the women friends.
Okay.
They attended the same church. Alan was the one who really like went to all the church functions and did the church things, and Betty sort of hung back. She was a little introverted. She was a little standoffish. I'm going to talk about the perception of Betty at the very end of this, but I'm just going to say that that's just how she comes off.
Okay.
The couple's eldest daughter, Jenny.
I keep wanting to say Jenny.
The couple's eldest daughters, Jenny and Alyssa, were best friends, and this is how the families really are intertwined. The two girls, they're like, little. They're 5, 6, 7 years old. They're very small. They spend the night at each other's house. It's just like exactly what you think is happening, This brings us to Friday the 13th in June of 1980.
Ugh, I don't like that.
It was the week of VBS. Do you know what that is?
Very busty sisters?
You got it. Do you know what VBS is? You may.
No.
Okay. In the Christian world, in the evangelical world, the world I grew up in, VBS means Vacation Bible School. It's a thing that happens over the summer.
I definitely did not have that.
Yeah. Dana has this I know it. I'm going to tell it.
I'm going to tell you how these children and all children have suffered through Vacation Bible School.
You've suffered through BBS?
Yes.
VBS?
VBS, yeah.
Got it.
So Vacation Bible School happens in the summer. When you go through the whole year of school, right? You're in third grade, you're in fourth grade, you're in fifth, sixth, seventh grade.
All of the grades,
right? You go from, wherever you live here in Jersey, we go to school from September to fucking June, right?
Yeah.
And you bust your ass through school and finally,
some of us.
Finally, it's fucking summer. You can do whatever you want. I can sit in my house and eat a bowl of mac and cheese on my living room floor and watch cartoons, and no one's going to bother me because my parents work and I'm a latchkey kid.
Phineas and Ferb had it all.
Yes.
100 and something days of summer vacation.
Yes. You know what happens when you're a Christian kid?
Fuck all.
They fucking make you go to Vacation Bible School where they make you wake up early in the summer.
No.
Fucking Monday through Friday.
No.
And they make you go learn God stuff.
No.
And color pictures and sing songs and put on a play, and your parents have to miss work on Friday so they can come watch your stupid fucking play that you had to do. And guess what? You're a tiny little girl with long brown hair. Guess who's Mary in the play? That's you. Do you want to stand in front of the whole church and fucking hold baby Jesus in front of everybody? But guess what? You have to because you have long brown hair. That makes you Mary. You're Mary.
Dana, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling like this is about you.
I'm just telling you what Vacation Bible School is like,
This feels personal.
And you get to eat Oreos, but they're not Oreos. They're Schmorios. They're the off-brand Schmorios. Yeah, exactly.
They're fucking... God damn it.
Real dry cookies with a real dry cream in between, and you drink the apple juice out of the circle thing with the tinfoil lid. And then no straws. We don't have straws. You got to peel it up.
Not the Hydrox.
It's real gross. The whole fucking thing.
Dana's having a little moment of trauma.
VBS is the worst. It smells weird in there. It's hot. There's no air conditioner. It's the 80s. It's the early 90s. There's no fucking air conditioner. They prop the door open with a fucking old Encyclopedia Britannica, and maybe the wind will go.
This feels oddly personal.
I cannot relate. And I had a very religious upbringing, but instead for the summer, since I was an only child, you were not an only child. They sent me to bother Nydia for the summer.
Yes.
We had her. Either it was Nydia or I got sent to Puerto Rico all my summers.
Honestly, it sounds like you had a great summer.
Unless they stalked you. And then by the age of 14, you are not allowed to return back by yourself.
Not with Nydia as your older cousin.
It was actually not her. It was her sister.
This was the opposite of whatever you had to go through.
Yeah.
They wanted to uplift you and holify you or whatever.
Sure, we'll call it
Cindy came
I think
to
the word is
undo whatever holiness she was going through.
Yeah, ours was indoctrination.
Yes.
Hers was
dedoctrination. We were ruining her.
Yeah, I love that.
I
yeah.
mean, they really. So if I went to Puerto Rico, my parents made arrangements for me to get picked up to go to church.
Oh, fuck,
Whereas if I went to Nydia's, nope, no
There
church,
was no church.
There was
Ain't no
nothing
church happening. We're rolling fucking chickens and bowling balls and shit.
We were full heathens. Full heathens. I did an episode on Magdalena Solis, the high priestess of blood.
Yes.
And that was a few episodes ago. And I have a picture of my mom where she looks just like her.
Oh, we're going to have to post that.
We're going to have to post it. So there was we were undoing whatever holiness was happening.
Well, you know what? That's good. I'm glad you had that kind of connection in your life.
Like I said, until I got to, I think it was 16, and I went out with Nydia's sister. And we returned at 3 a.m. and absolutely were not allowed to go out the rest of the summer.
There was a lot of times that Cindy was forbidden from ever doing things again because of us.
I absolutely approve it, though, now.
Well, I love that for you. That was not my experience. I was like memorizing the books of the Bible in order and shit, you know?
I don't love that for you.
I did that all throughout the year.
Oh, yeah, me too. On Fridays at Awana. Thanks so much. Anyway, I digress. Alyssa Gore, that's Alan and Betty's daughter, had spent the night at the Montgomerys for a play date. Candy would bring her to VBS in the morning since she was helping run the program, and Betty was home with the couple's newest daughter, Bethany, who was almost a year old. Pat Montgomery was at work, and he had told the children that morning before VBS that they would go see the new Star Wars movie that night. So all the kids were so excited, and they begged the Montgomerys to allow Alyssa to stay over again tonight so she can go to the movies. The parents said, sure, I'll check with, your mom, and I'll make the arrangements. Alan Gore was working that day, but he was leaving to go on a work trip to St. Paul for the weekend. And
Minnesota?
Yes.
Got it.
And Betty was not happy about that.
Still?
No, she doesn't like him leaving. She just doesn't like it. She's very anxious about it. It's a very codependent relationship.
Yeah, it sounds like she has unnatural attachment.
Also, she has a small baby, and, it's a lot. She doesn't like it. So she's upset, but he has to work. There's nothing he can do. So Candy took all 3 kids to VBS, taught her little class, and then she was going to go run some errands. So part of those errands was to go to Betty's to ask if Alyssa can stay the night. This is pre-cell phone days, of course.
Right.
And get her swimsuit and, some extra clothes and things because Alyssa had a swimming lesson. So Candy Montgomery would have had to take Alyssa to her swimming lesson, which is like, to me, that's a no. That's a no for me. Like, I'm not going to take someone else's kid to but this seems like the way they tell the story and the way you watch it on Hulu, like, this seems like no fucking big deal that she was like, yeah, she could sleep over and I'll take her to her sport. And like, fucking simply no. I don't even take my own kid to a sport. I'm definitely not taking your kid. But she gets her swimsuit. She gets a little peppermint because Alyssa doesn't like to go underwater, so they reward her with a peppermint if she puts her head underwater. Like a little training thing. She collects all her things, and Candy moves on to go to Target to get Father's Day cards for the kids because the next day is Father's Day.
How sad is it when you need a peppermint as a reward?
I mean, a peppermint by itself is pretty sad, but if you get that as a reward, I just feel...
I mean, it's like fucking 1980. I don't know. What kind of candies did they have? It's almost like Cindy with the raisins.
Raisins.
or a scoop of sugar on your tongue. Or like you get a little tablespoon of honey.
I mean, maybe she loves peppermints. I don't know. I mean, I like peppermints, but...
don't give that to me as a reward,
So she was going to go to Target to get Father's Day cards for the kids to give to him, their fathers the next day. But when she gets to Target, she realizes that her watch had stopped.
Target?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, was there a Target back then? But I guess there was.
Target.
They kept saying Target, the Target. So I don't know if it was like the Target that we have or a Target in Wiley, Texas. I don't know. And actually, I will say this. It wasn't in Wiley, Texas. It was in the next town over. Like, this is like Texas, right? There's like big open spaces. So like she drove all the way to another town to this Target. And when she gets there, she realizes that her watch had stopped at like 10:15. So she was really late. So she turned around and went back to the church because she was missing the kids' little play at the end of the week.
Believe it or not, Target's been around for a long
When?
time.
Since when?
The birth of Target, 1962, opened in Minnesota.
There you go.
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
So she goes,
To know.
1962, don't you know?
There you go.
The kids are asking for their mom, and, you know, the other parents are like, I don't know where she went. She had to run some errands, and she gets back. She's so upset. Oh, my God, my watch. Okay. The kids are bummed that she missed the performance, but she says she's going to make it up to them. Plus, they're going out to the movies. It's going to be fine.
Right.
So she takes all the kids to a store. Some reports said Walmart. She takes the kids. They go get Father's Day cards. She takes Alyssa to swim. The kids go back, and they wait for her husband to get off, and they're going to go watch Star Wars. And then they get like fast food tacos after.
Mm-hmm.
So since Alan had known that Betty was so pissed about him leaving for the weekend to St. Paul, he called her from work. She didn't answer the phone. He called her before he leaves for the airport. She doesn't answer the phone. She was double pissed because she missed her period. And she really did not want to be pregnant because she was a teacher and she knew, like, if she got pregnant at this time, she was going to be pregnant through the school year and it was going to fuck up. She was very upset.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when he got back from the trip, the couple was leaving to go to Switzerland for another honeymoon. The kids were going to go stay with their grandparents.
Right.
And he was taking her on a trip to Switzerland to, you know, rekindle their relationship.
Oh, nice.
Okay. He calls, she doesn't answer. He calls, she doesn't answer. He gets to the airport. He buys a bunch of traveler's checks for their trip to Switzerland coming up. He calls her again because he wants to give her the traveler's checks numbers, and she doesn't answer.
Oh.
When he arrives at the hotel with his colleagues, he calls again, and she doesn't answer. So now he's starting to he's been calling her all day, and she's not answering. Right. He called the neighbor, and he asked them to go over and check. Just, can you go over and check and see what's going on at my house? Betty's not a very social butterfly. She certainly wouldn't be out this late. There's no reason that she shouldn't be answering the phone. The neighbor's a little pissy because his wife was out, like, playing, like, I don't know, fucking bridge or cards or whatever white women played in Texas. I don't fucking know. And he was watching his own kids, and he's like, I can't be leaving my house to go check on your wife. But, you know, what he sounds desperate, so he goes over and checks. He says that her car's not there, but the lights are on. She must be out.
Right.
So Alan goes to dinner with his colleagues, and he asks the front desk if any calls come. Can you just forward it to me at the restaurant? And this story really made me be like, damn cell phones, bro. Like, for real, you know? All of it, from, like, Betty being, like, obsessed with where he is and, like, not being able... She could text him incessantly, like, while he's away, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, you know? Cell phones have, you know, helped our codependency come a long way.
Listen, our codependency.
Yeah. So he goes to dinner. He really doesn't have an appetite because he's just like, he doesn't understand where his wife could be, why she's not answering the phone. He gets back to the room. He calls again and again and again. It's just ringing. He calls the operator. Can you call? Maybe I'm dialing wrong. Maybe I'm dialing my own phone number wrong.
Right.
They can't get anybody on the phone. He calls the neighbor again. He's like, listen, I'm sorry, but can you please just, like, go check, you know, break down the door. I don't care. Just, you know, whatever it is. While that guy goes over to check, he calls a different neighbor and he tells him what's going on. He's like, can you go over and check? Like, maybe this guy's not checking right. You know, like, whatever. So 3 neighbors go over to the Gore's house to check. The lights are on and they realize the car is in the driveway, but it had been, like, pulled all the way up. So he couldn't see it when he first got there. The first time he checked.
Right.
And the lights are on. So the first guy who went and checked earlier, he was the realtor that sold the Gores the house.
Oh.
So he was like...
And he was a neighbor?
Yeah. Like, I guess it sounds like it was like a development type of situation, you know? So he may have had a key, that, like, a master key that worked on all the houses, which to me is like...
That's, simply no.
Yeah. So he gets... He gets the key and he realizes when he's trying the keys that the front door is actually unlocked.
Oh.
They open the door, and as soon as they open the door, they hear baby Bethany screaming.
Oh, no.
She's a mess. Red-faced, sweating. She's in her crib. She's distressed. She's soaked, soiled diaper, and it looks like she's been there for hours.
Oh, no.
One of the men grab her, run her back to his wife, and says, you need to call the police. Please take care of this baby. You need to call the police.
Right.
And
Also, ew, change the diaper.
I mean, he just like scooped her up and ran because they didn't know. Still at this point, they haven't found Betty.
The mom. Right.
The men end up finding a gruesome scene.
No.
I took this description straight from Texas Monthly. If you don't want to hear about them finding her body, just skip forward a couple of minutes because this is very gruesome.
Oh my God. Without exception, each man who saw the lifeless body of Betty Gore the night of June 13th, 1980, reflexively averted his eyes. Even those who already knew what lay beyond the utility room door were never bold enough to look even more than a moment before closing the door. Few looked at the head at all. The sight was too horrible. So the early reports as to the manner of death were conflicting and usually wrong. It was a small room, no more than 12 feet long by 6 feet wide, made smaller by the presence of a washer, a dryer, a freezer, and a small cabinet where Betty had kept toys and knickknacks. In one corner were a brand new toy wagon and a child's training toilet. Closer to the center of the room, where the freezer stood against one wall, were 2 dog food dishes and a bruised book of Mother Goose nursery rhymes. The book had a white cover, which stood out in sharp relief because in the harsh overhead light that glared off the harvest gold linoleum, it was one of the few objects in the room not coated in blood. Her left arm was the first thing they noticed after opening the door. It lay in a pool of blood and fluid so thick that the arm appeared to be floating above the linoleum. To get a look at her face, the men had to walk around the ocean of red and black to get closer. What they saw was even more unsettling. Her lips were parted, showing her front teeth, the mouth fashioned into a half grin. Her hair radiated in all directions, a tangled, soaking mass of glistening black. And Betty's left eye was wide open, staring down at the gaping black craters in her arm. As to her right eye, she appeared to not have one. The entire right of her face seemed to be gone. A few feet from Betty's head and half concealed under the freezer was a heavy wooden-handled 3-foot-long axe.
So what do you think has happened?
Somebody took an axe to her head.
Who?
Well, since Hulu made a movie of it, I'm thinking Candy.
Okay, that's not the point.
Okay.
Why would Candy kill her?
I don't know, man. Why would anybody kill her? Because to this point, she's just a mom.
Yeah.
Doing the mom thing.
Right.
Having the sleepovers, stressing over her husband.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. So the police, of course, are like, this is the most brutal fucking crime scene they've ever seen. It's really, really, really bad. To the point that, like, when Alan calls, because Alan, of course, keeps calling until someone gets in.
Right.
When the neighbors answer the phone, they're like, she's been shot. Like, that's how bad it looked.
Oh, my God.
They didn't know, of course, that she'd been...
And he's in fucking Switzerland.
No, he's in St. Paul. They were going to Switzerland later in the week.
Got it.
Alan, he's initially told that she's shot. And he thinks that maybe she killed herself because she'd been so depressed. Right. And he's like, we don't even own a gun. Like, how could this happen? So he rushes back home and police take him in for questioning. They also want to see the last person known to see her alive, besides her husband, Candy Montgomery. Alan's got a solid alibi. Solid as a fucking rock.
Right.
Since Candy saw her alive earlier that day, and Alan had been at work and then flown out of town, Candy basically solidifies Alan's alibi.
Right.
Because maybe Alan could have killed her in the morning and then, whatever. But Candy saw her. And she said she saw her. She told everybody she saw her. I went to get the bathing suit and I saw her in my watch and the whole bit, Right.
And the being late.
Right.
Oh, shit.
So they question him for motive. And yes, they've had difficulties in their marriage over the years, of course. But they had been to marriage encounters and they had been working on their relationship, especially since the baby was born. We're going to talk about marriage encounters in a minute.
Oh, marriage encounters.
Yeah. So they asked if either one of them had had an affair. And Alan says, yes, years ago, Betty had cheated on him.
Betty?
While he was away on a work trip. But he had forgiven her and they had gotten past it.
I thought you were going to say he cheated on her. Cindy did the same look.
My eyes went like saucers and looked over like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What? Not you, Betty.
Yeah. They let him go home to plan his wife's funeral. So Alan is planning the funeral, and he has a thought. And he calls the police back, and he says, I gotta tell you, I lied. I've had an affair as well. With the last person who saw my wife alive.
No!
Candy Montgomery.
Stop!
So let's rewind about 2 years.
Oh, good Lord.
To the summer of 1978.
Listen.
My birth year.
It was a year.
It was a year. It certainly was. Candy had become close with some of the women at the church.
And some of the men.
Yeah, well, not yet. But some of the women, especially the preacher at the time, her name was Jack. It was a woman preacher. Her name was Jackie.
How progressive.
It really seemed like this very, like, in the book, it was a very, like, probably like lefty town in Texas in the 70s. Very strange. Very democratic town.
Wow.
Very, like, female preacher, feminist, whatever, like, lots of, like, progressive nonsense happening in Texas. It must be,
not nonsense.
Some weird political, like, anomaly in Texas and Wiley. I don't know. Fucking...
Right.
It can't be many cities there, especially these little tiny little like bedroom communities like what this was. Because you could see like Dallas or Austin or like the big cities being progressive, but like a little fucking 4,000 town community in Texas.
Can't say I hate it.
No, they really seemed like very progressive. If you read the book, which I'll be honest with you, highly recommend the book.
Oh.
It was very entertaining.
What was the name of it?
It was called Evidence of Love, a true story of passion and death in the suburbs. It was good, though.
Despite the title.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, so it was written by two journalists in the area, like local journalists in Texas.
Okay.
And I'm going to touch base on the Betty situation now, since we're talking about it. The two journalists that wrote this book, they interviewed extensively Candy Montgomery, Pat Montgomery, and Alan Gore. And the only person who doesn't get to tell their side of the story
is a dead girl.
Is Betty Gore. And they really, all of them make Betty Gore seem like the miserable, frumpy wife who like annoyed her husband, and like really make it seem like Candy is like just such a nice mom, and she just was bored and she just decided to fuck someone. Like, and like really, if Betty would have been a better wife, then Alan wouldn't have cheated. Like, I don't like that either. And it's very unfortunate because I'm only 2 episodes into the Hulu thing, but like it seems like it's going that way as well.
I don't like that.
So, and I will also say this, that The Family, Hulu's made this series, HBO Max made a series about them apparently.
Really?
Yeah. And I think there was maybe in 2000, an Oxygen 2020 situation.
Right.
And the family, the children and family of Betty Gore have never been consulted about, them using their mother's story or like how they feel about it. And also one of the families was like a family member. It just doesn't say who the family member is, but a family member was interviewed. Like, how do you feel about this? And she was like, I can't even open Hulu without seeing Candy's face on my TV. And it's very fucking heartbreaking. That part is kind of tough,
That really sucks for them. I hate that.
Yeah. Candy becomes close with some women in a church, especially Jackie. And Jackie's the preacher, the female preacher.
Yeah.
And the two women talk about all kinds of like philosophical things. And Candy starts to realize that like, she didn't go to college. She's not like worldly. And like, she's like, what is her life beyond being a mom and a wife?
Right.
And like, she's fucking bored.
Right.
She decides like, how do I like not be bored? I'm going to have an affair. I don't know who with, but
the answer to boredom is always dick?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
So she wants to have an affair. She doesn't know who with, but she just like wants fireworks. She's like bored with her life.
I can't say dick is the
fireworks. I certainly don't think so. So she discusses this with her closest friends, and they like get a hobby, maybe? Like, what the fuck?
Okay.
So she wasn't the only member of the church struggling at this point. Added to Betty's anxiety, she's suffering from bouts of depression. She wasn't able to secure a permanent teaching position. And people say that it was because she was too harsh on her students. She didn't like the teaching style the district was using. There was like stories of like the students, like she was a like mean teacher, I guess. The students came and were like egged her house or something. So she made the whole class stay in detention to like figure out these are like 2nd and 3rd graders too. They're like little kids. Yeah. And so, her principal's like, I'm fucking fielding all these calls because you're like, being extreme, and she's like, well, this is a community, and we have to, if one person does something bad, everybody fail.
Right.
Like, she's got these like kind of old school,
right,
in this progressive town, and it's just
in
not
the
like
70s.
It's not vibing, right? So she doesn't like maintain this permanent teaching position, and she's got a sub, which she really hates, and she wants to have a second baby, but she doesn't want it to interfere with whatever. She's just like really depressed.
She really wanted to be a teacher.
She really did want to be a teacher, yeah. So she's a meticulous planner, and she wants to have a second baby, and so the act of trying consisted of the couple having sex on a very scheduled and medical, unpassionate way, and Alan begins to feel very resentful. So one night at the church volleyball game, Alan and Candy bump into each other, and Candy thought, wow, he smells sexy.
Oh, shit.
She loves it.
Old Spice.
I don't know what it was. Now, mind you, this is a man who started balding in his 20s. Okay?
Nothing wrong with that.
And he's got, like, big glasses, and he's, like, just a nerd. And she's like, my man.
Oh, shit.
And Candy's like,
he was putting off some big dick vibes.
I don't know. But he was like, the two of them sounded like the same person in their relationship. They're both the outgoing ones where their partners are kind of laid back. Right. And, Alan's like, if you don't know what VBS is, then you probably don't know about
Vacation Bible School.
You probably don't know about the church volleyball team, bro.
What?
Or that my dad was on the church softball team.
Shit.
Now, I will,
all kinds of sports.
I will digress to tell you, my dad was on the church softball team, right?
Okay.
I don't know if I told this story before. And they played at a little school in our town. And at the time, the school was like a kindergarten school and like, maybe kindergarten and first grade or something. I had went to that school when I was a little kid.
Right.
So now I was still a little kid. I was like probably 7 at this point.
Is this where you stole?
Yes.
Oval?
Yes, I stole a circle pattern.
Yes.
I stuck my hand in the window at the church
tiny
band.
baby hand.
Yes, and the custodian guy grabbed my fucking hand from the window.
Oh my God, I would have tiny screamed.
I definitely screamed, and he was like, "You're here with the church. You are here. God is watching you." And I'm telling you, it vibrated my soul. Like, truly, that scared the shit out of me.
It didn't stop her from using drugs all
It didn't, but I've
school.
never been a thief ever. I never stole anything from anyone ever. Like, that shit scared me so bad. And like,
oh my God.
Even when I was like, way older and like doing drugs and doing things that were really bad, I would like pray to God and be like, and please forgive me for that circle pattern I stole when I was in 2nd grade.
You were very high. Very
me
high.
up, like, for real. Anyway, so Alan and Candy are both on the volleyball team at church.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So they bump into each other. He smells so good. After the game, I guess all the people are walking to their cars, and she pulls Alan aside and she says to him, "I've been thinking about you a lot. It's really bothering me. I don't know if I want to do anything about it or not, but I'm very attracted to you and I'm tired of thinking about it, so I just wanted to tell you." And she just like walks away before he can say anything. And he's like,
ew.
"Say what?"
Her panties were wet.
Truly. So then, like, I don't know, maybe the next week or the week later, he comes up to her and he's like, "Do you think we should have an affair?" They're just very like,
how mathematical.
They proceed to plan the most methodical affair of all time. It takes them months to plan out what they're going to do.
Was math involved?
I mean, sort of, yeah.
Did they solve for X?
They had spreadsheets, like they had rules. The main rule being, this was just sex. There was not going to be emotion involved. Any money that they spent, they were going to split it in half.
That was his idea, wasn't it?
I don't know. She was going to make lunch each time they met, and they would meet at a hotel, and she would make lunch so that he could still have lunch during his, lunch break, but then they would have plenty of time to have sex because they wouldn't have to, like, get lunch or whatever.
That was all him.
No, he really loved how, like, forward she was and how, like, take charge she was and how she was just like doing all this planning or whatever.
And the making of the sandwiches.
I mean, it wasn't even like in the book, the food they described that she was making was like fucking teriyaki skewers and like fresh salads and shit.
What?
Like, no, she was like, this is the 70s, bitch. This is a housewife in Texas. This bitch is making some Betty Crocker shit and putting it in her Tupperware, her like green Tupperware with the like opaque lid on the top. Like, No, and she would pack the food up in a picnic basket with like, she would wear her little nightie. She would get to the hotel.
Wow.
She would pay $29 for her.
She would have to pay.
Well, they would split it. So she would pay 1 week, he would pay
This
1
is
week.
disgusting.
Yeah. She would get in her little nightie. And it took a couple of times of them doing this before they could even have sex because like they were just so like freaking out about the whole thing.
Wow.
So finally, she like says something to him like, if you don't do something, like I'm going to have this so built up in my head, you're never going to be able to like meet the expectations of like that I have in my head of you. And he's like, yeah, I thought about that. So every other week while the kids were in school and
every other week.
Yeah, like she was available on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so they would meet every other week. It was fucking crazy, yeah. And they would meet for 2 hours on like Tuesday or Thursday. You know, she would bring this fancy lunch, and they would have sex, and then they would shower so that they didn't smell like each other, and then they would go on their merry ways. Candy was like disappointed in Alan's sexual expertise. Go figure.
Yeah, I mean,
she said even though he had children and had been married, he had never had a French kiss before.
What?
Yeah, and Betty had been his only partner.
Wait. Betty what?
His wife had only been his only sexual partner. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the affair was still exciting. So like, you know, that was what she, you know, it did it for a couple of months maybe.
Right.
But what began to happen was like they shared a lot. They talked about their spouses. They talked about their kids. They talked about what they were lacking in their marriage, and they like fucking became best friends.
Oh.
The affair went on for like a year or so, you know, whatever. And like they would leave little notes on each other's cars, and like it was not what it was supposed to be. It started to become what it wasn't supposed to be. Candy tries to end it at one point because she can tell that she's starting to have feelings for him. Okay. And he's like, no, we can't like end it because we have to see this through. Right. And then he realizes like a couple months later, like we should probably end this because Betty tries to initiate sex with him one night and he's just like too fucking tired. And they like only had sex once a month or something. So when she's like, you don't love me because I'm fat now. You don't love me because of this. And she like totally flips out and he's like, I can't do this to my wife. Like this is so fucked up. Aww. So he breaks it off. And Candy's upset because she did fall in love. She knew she was, you know, she was falling in love with him.
That nerd had something.
I think what happened was like he really was like able to listen to her in a way her husband wasn't, and it was like, you know, they were really giving each other the attention that they weren't getting at home, which like some people need that, you know. They ended the affair after Betty has the second baby.
Wait, was it his baby?
No, Betty has the baby. Betty, his wife.
Oh, Betty, his wife.
Yeah. So they end the affair after Betty has the second baby, Bethany. Mind you, Candy and the ladies at church throw Betty a baby shower. Well, she's been fucking his husband. Anyway, whatever.
Fucking her husband.
Fucking her husband, yeah.
Also, she's got to cover it up. Plus, the ladies at church don't know.
No one knows.
Exactly.
No one knows. Her friends know that she's fucking someone. They don't know who it is.
Really?
Yeah.
They knew?
Yes.
Oh my God. Dirty girls.
Yeah.
Scandalous.
So after the second baby, the Gores go to marriage encounters. Now, let me explain to you what marriage encounters is.
Kind of sounds like a swinger site.
It really does sound like
it's the opposite, actually. Yeah.
I mean, I figured as much if the church is setting it up, but it still sounds so funny.
So marriage encounters is this. It's like a church retreat, okay? So where like couples go away to this like retreat and they're definitely swinging. No, like they go to this retreat and it's like they do all this like writing and all of this like, you know, therapy bullshit where they're like, you know, on the first day you get there and you like write what your intentions are and like what makes you happy about in the marriage, what makes your husband happy about the marriage, what makes you happy together about the marriage, whatever, all this fucking therapy shit. And you're there for the whole weekend and like, you know, who knows? You have sex, I don't know. Maybe they don't encourage it, they don't, whatever. It's a God thing. So at one point, Alan suggests that they go to marriage encounters. And then Betty's like, no, I don't think we should go. Right. We don't need to go. What do you mean? We're fine. And he backs down. But then later, Betty must have like been upset or sensed that something was going on and she wasn't feeling confident in their marriage. So she suggested they go. So they have the second baby and they go to marriage encounters. And it really helps them.
Oh.
They really like learn that like they're unhappy about things that maybe they just didn't understand about each other, or, you know, and they do these like all these writing prompts. So every day even after when they get home from marriage encounters, they pick a topic and it's called like 10 for 10. So you write for 10 minutes and then share for 10 minutes. And
that sounds like homework.
fuck, it was, yeah. And they did it, and it was like helping them. It
Right.
was. So he ends the affair with Candy because he wants to he's like, all of this energy I'm putting into you, I could be putting into my marriage.
I mean,
And
that's
Candy's
like having 2 wives.
Yeah, and Candy's like reluctant, but she's like, fine, you're right. Like,
Right.
go do your thing. And they have a new baby, whatever.
Right.
She moves on. So much so that she has an affair with a different man.
Oh.
And this guy turns it out. She's into his sex.
Shit.
Yeah. But he ends up like really catching feelings for her like really quick and like shows up at her house and shit. And she's like, no, simply no. She ends the affair. And she's like, you know what? Maybe we should go to marriage counselor. She says to Pat, like, let's go to marriage counselor.
What's her husband thinking is like happening?
Her husband's just like bopping around, like working at Texas Instrument. He's making like $70K back then. It was like $250,000. Like he's like making money, and she's like spending his money and like
and having the affairs
and having affairs, using his money to buy hotels, to sleep with different men, like whatever, you know. But like he just doesn't think anything's wrong. He's just like working. She's home at night. She makes dinner every night. She's there with the kids. She's like, she makes it fit into her schedule, you know. So she ends the affair with the second guy, and her and Pat decide to go to marriage encounters as well. And they like find it a little corny. Like they do like the writing prompts and stuff, but they're just like, no, this is really dumb. They didn't have the same experience, you know, as the other couples did. The affair ends 8 months before Betty's murdered. So like really, Candy doesn't have a reason to kill her, like, at all.
Right.
She's already slept with another guy. And she's trying to work things out with her husband, and she really doesn't have a reason to kill her.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't have a reason to. But with her being the last to see him and giving Alan a solid alibi, who the fuck else could it be? You know?
She was the last one to see her.
Right.
Right.
The last person to see her alive. And this murder was brutal. Betty had been hit with the axe 41 times.
What?
Yeah.
What?
The footprints at the scene were found in the blood were very small, like a woman's shoe. So police begin to focus on Candy. They question Candy because, you know, we're just genuine questions. We're just trying to see what's going on. You were the last one to see her. We just want to get like a timeline of events, you know? And she insisted she didn't kill Betty. She sticks to her story. She's very calm. You know, she went there. She got the bathing suit. She got the peppermint. Her watch broke. She went to Target. She went back, you know, blah, 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 blah. Her story never wavers. She's very consistent with her story. Her husband starts to get concerned, so he gets her a lawyer. And they hire this guy that they go to church with. He's like not a criminal defense attorney, but he's like, yeah, I'll help you. Like, obviously you didn't do this, whatever. And he like reassures her, like, this is you're the last person to see her. Of course they're going to question you. It's, you know, it is what it is. So police and prosecutors think that they have an open and shut case. They're like, there's a fingerprint
of Candy's.
Well, so in the book, and so I've heard like conflicting, and I'm interested to see how the show does it, but in the book there's a thumbprint, and it's in blood. And apparently, like, when a thumbprint is in blood, it's like one of the hardest ways to lift it because it can be moved, you know, it's not stable, so you can't like powder it.
Oh.
So they took a picture of it.
Okay.
Which, like, what the fuck did they take a picture of it with a fucking Polaroid from the 70s? Like, what the hell, you know? It's not like they took a digital picture of it. They took a picture of it and they tried to lift it and they fucked it up. That's what the book says. I've heard conflicting reports that the thumbprint matched Candy, but I don't know whether that's true or not. The police ask her if she'll take a polygraph test. Right. And they're like, she's like, yeah, of course I will. I want to do anything to help solve my friend's murder. And Alan takes a polygraph test and he passed. But her husband had hired the attorney. So initially he stops the polygraph test, but then he allows it. And, you know, they don't withhold in court anyway, but she passes it. So they're going to let it fly.
Okay.
And like I said, the cops think they have an open and shut case.
Right.
They take her to trial. Before she's actually, like, the trial starts, a lot of, like, media and all, I mean, this was like a huge fucking story. These, like, this housewife killed this other housewife. At first there was like axe murder on the loose, all of this craziness. God. Yeah. Oh, and the week that this happened, The Shining came out.
Oh, wonderful.
So, like, it was a big fucking deal. And it was a Friday the 13th, and it was just like a lot, you know? So
all of the murders.
Yes. So there was a lot of media attention. It comes out that she'd been having an affair with Alan. You know, things are starting to come out in the press. So they get like a court, the judge, you know, makes a gag order, all of this like brouhaha in the beginning of the case. They come to court. How do you plead? The prosecution's like, we have all this evidence, so we're going to nail her to the wall. She comes in and she says, I plead not guilty by reason of self-defense.
Oh. With an axe?
Yeah. The trial's a fucking mess on both sides.
Yeah, because, like, you went to her house.
Right.
So how is it self-defense?
So okay, so this fucks up the whole prosecution, because they were, like, coming in that she was going to say not guilty, we were going to prove she did it, that's it.
Right.
She's like, you're right, I did do it. Before she pleads, she has to tell her husband that she did it, and she tells her, like, couple of best friends so that they're not shocked by it in the news.
Right.
Her husband didn't even fucking know at this point.
Oh, my God.
Her lawyer told him days before she goes to court.
Right.
She, like, goes under hypnosis to try to remember, like, bits, because she, like, says she blocked it out. She can't remember exactly what happened. She goes under hypnosis. They, like, bring up all this shit. It's wild. So she's like, you're right, I did do it. Your evidence will point to the fact that I did it, but I only did it because she attacked me first.
What?
So basically she says that she goes to the house to get the bathing suit, to get the peppermints, and to see if...
Oh, that's right, because she was taking the
She was going there. She did go there. Right. The kid was already at her house.
Right.
When she gets there, she's like, is the baby... You know, where's the baby? Can I see the baby's asleep? She's like, oh, bummer. I wanted to see her. Oh, we got a puppy. Do you want to see the puppy?
Right.
And we don't know. We do not... No one knows how Betty put two and two together that Candy was sleeping with.
Oh, shit.
As far as Alan was concerned, Betty did not know still to this point.
Right.
Now, Pat Montgomery did know about the affair because he was looking through drawers months before to look for their love letters when they went to marriage encounters, and he found love letters from Alan.
Oh, shit.
So he knew, but he didn't say, they talked about it and they worked through it, but he never told Betty because he thought Betty was unhinged and couldn't handle it. And he thought it would, like, embarrass his wife. And he felt like he was responsible for his wife cheating on him because he wasn't attentive enough.
Okay.
So he was, like, trying to fix it, which is very sad. Also, he doesn't know about the other guy she was fucking, but he finds out about that in court. But, Alan's like, she did not know. She didn't know. There's no way she would have known.
That Betty
wouldn't. That they had an affair.
Right.
He's like, I would have fucking known that she knew, because she would have never let me live it down.
Right.
Candy says that she went there, they were talking, and all of a sudden, Betty's like, are you sleeping with my husband? And Candy's like, no. And she's like, did you sleep with my husband? And she was like, yes, but it's been over for months. I
can't wow.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So she's like, I'm telling you, it's been over for months. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, whatever. I don't even know that she really says she's really sorry, but she's like, it's over.
Well, that's what she's saying.
Yeah, that's what she's saying.
That it's actually what happened.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
So she says that Betty went into, like, that little utility room. She comes back out with the axe.
Stop. No, she didn't.
And then she talks her out of the axe. Calm down. This is, I'm just going to get the bathing suit. I'm going to leave. And she's like, no, fuck you. Bring my daughter back here. She's not staying the night with you. Then Betty attacks her. So she wrestles the axe away from her and then fucking hits her 41 times.
No. No. Simply no.
Yeah.
You know how heavy an axe is, how wieldy it is.
It was like, what did it say, 3 foot long wooden axe? I mean, and she hits her, the autopsy report says that she was alive for 40 of the hits.
I've watched people hit things with an axe on TikTok, and just the first swing is just too much energy for me.
Right. And these are just like, housewives in Texas. Like, I mean, I can't imagine they're like throwing axes on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, they're not.
No, absolutely not.
The court case is ridiculous. There's like arguing. The judge is like, seems like he's siding with the prosecution. Her lawyer like keeps like objecting over the judge. He gets held in contempt. He has to go to jail and pay fines and shit. Yeah, it's like real wild.
I wish those court cases would have been recorded.
I know.
Oh my God.
So the media asked if they could come in for the verdict. And the prosecution was like, no, get out of here. Which was nice because she said she did eventually, she thanked the prosecution for not letting them in. But both sides would have had to agree, but the prosecution already said no. So so the murder was on Friday the 13th.
I don't love that.
The verdict was on October 30th, the day before Halloween.
Oh.
in 1980. After 3 hours of deliberation, Candy Montgomery is found not guilty on all charges.
What?
Yep. They found her not guilty because they couldn't determine whether she was attacked or not. The lesser charge was involuntary manslaughter.
Got it.
And they couldn't come to a consensus of whether she was guilty or not for that.
She swung that axe 41
times.
She tired herself out. She felt her shoulders.
And then after, well, not only that, she had a cut on her toe from the axe. She had a cut on her head. Not bad ones, but cuts nonetheless. She got fully dressed, covered in blood, and got in the Gore's shower. Cleaned herself off in their shower. Went back to her house, cut up the shoes that she tracked footprints all over, threw them out, put clothes back on, went back to the church, put clothes similar enough that nobody would know she was in different clothes, went back to the church, came up with the story about her watch, which her watch did stop when she got in the shower with all of her clothes on. And then lied about it for weeks to everyone.
Just a cut on the toe or the head would have been enough for me to be like, that's enough. I think I swung the axe enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that should have snapped whatever rage she was in.
So, not to like go into all of it, because some of the things that she was claiming. So she went through this like hypnosis thing from her defense lawyers. They put her under hypnosis so they could try to remember like what exactly happened, because she says she blacked out, whatever. And part of it was Betty shushed her. Shh.
Oh, yeah, that'll send me.
She went back into this like, now remember, this is the 80s when they were like repressed memories and all of these things. So she went back in her hypnosis when her mom shushed her when she was getting like a surgical procedure. Wouldn't it be embarrassing if everybody heard how you were acting? And that shush from Betty triggered the shush from her mom when she was a little kid. And that's why it was so rage filled.
Oh, wow.
And everybody was like, go fuck yourself. Like, truly.
But also don't go fuck yourself because they said not guilty.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, for real.
Yeah.
For real. And whether or not she was provoked, still, 41 whacks, girl.
Well, the other part that some of the jurors had a really hard time with is that she left that baby there for hours and the baby wasn't found for hours and hours and hours, sitting in her own bodily fluids and crying and hungry. But that's not what she was on trial for. She wasn't on trial for that. She was on trial for murder.
But she took the time to shower and take care of herself and make sure she was okay.
Yeah. And
covered up all of the murder.
Went to the movies. Went to eat tacos.
Holy
and had the Gore's daughter with her. Kept the Gore's daughter. Because Alan called her and was like, is Alyssa okay? I don't know where Betty is. Yeah, she's fine. I'll keep her. Don't worry. Do you want me to go check on her? Like, all of that. Yeah.
Count to 41.
Yeah.
With 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. I have the hiccups. 3 Mississippi. Do that 41 times. Right. And tell me your arms and your shoulders aren't going to be killing you.
Right.
I'm telling you, after one whack, I could feel it in my shoulders. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, if you whacked hard enough to just skim your toe and skim your forehead, and you kept going,
Yeah.
Candy thinks she's going back to life as we know it. I'm not guilty.
Right.
Food shopping.
Right.
Going back to church.
Flipping coupons.
Fucking.
Right.
She walks out of the courtroom. People are like, murderer. They like call her house and like hang up. They throw shit at her house. Whatever.
Right.
8 days she lasts in Wiley before they move to Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Amy.
Yeah. Between Betty's murder and Candy's conviction, so what's that, June to October?
Yes.
Alan Gore marries someone else.
What?
Yeah, some other like woman from church.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
It's only a couple months.
Yeah. So where are they all now, right? Like, let's talk about that. So Alan Gore marries this other woman.
It's fucking 4 months.
And she was brutally murdered. And the fact of the matter is,
he needed somebody to babysit them kids.
Well,
and make him sandwiches.
Well, here's the deal. He ends up losing custody of the kids to Betty's mom because supposedly the new stepmom is like abusive to the children. These poor fucking children lose their mother.
Right.
Their whole life gets uprooted. They have to go live in Kansas, which it sounds like they had a good childhood in spite of everything.
Right.
Alyssa Gore joined Kansas State University and studied accounting. She lives in Kansas with her husband and 2 children. Bethany Gore followed in her mom's footsteps and became a teacher. She and her husband also live in Kansas, and they have 2 children also. Alan Gore lost custody of the kids, like I said, but it looks like now they're sort of in contact with each other. Pat and Candy get divorced. Okay. He stuck with her through the trial, and he stuck with her for a while after, but they end up getting divorced. Candy, Pat, went on his, PhD mechanical engineering way. I think he changed, goes by a different name, like James or something. And Candy went back to her maiden name, and she is a psychologist.
Or
psychiatrist, something like that. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, she's like a family therapist.
What?
And that is the American justice system.
I got the hiccups.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But that's if this show is going by the book, of course there was so much more detail in the book. And I was saying a lot of this to you, but also saying a lot of it from memory because the book was very detailed.
Right.
I suggest watching the Hulu thing or reading the book. I thought the book was really good. But yeah, that's the story of Candy.
Let me just tell you that this is one step below the shocking story that you told the one time about the man with the electricity.
Yeah.
I won't give away too much, but Dana did a story and it was just a lot. This is
You're killing me.
What is my life? This is as shocking as that last episode that you did.
Shocking in a different way, but
yes.
But yeah, this story made national news in the 80s. This was a huge deal. It was a huge deal because it was on the Friday the 13th. It was a huge deal because of The Shining. It was a huge deal because it was 2 housewives battling over a man, which really was not the case. Yeah, it wasn't even the case. The media ran wild with it, and
damn.
The girls aren't thrilled by the attention with their mom's case. They're baffled by why all of it's 40 years have gone by. What the fuck?
Right.
But
I hope they got compensation.
I don't know. But they were raised by their grandparents and their uncles, back in Kansas, and they had a similar life to their mom had, on the farm.
Oh, I hope that they had a good upbringing at least, because that's so sad.
It's in the book they really describe how her parents reacted to the murder, and they were just really whether Alan swung the axe or not, had he not had an affair, those women wouldn't have had a reason to ever have a fight with each other. Right. You know what I mean? So he is responsible for her death, inadvertently, whatever. Yeah, but... And her parents were really when they felt his testimony about the affair or whatever, he was so cold on the witness stand. They were so worried about how cold Candy was. When I'm telling you, they were this methodical. They were all these mathematical, methodical people. Right. They were really concerned about Candy on the stand, that they tried to hypnotize her and put this trigger word in her brain to make her cry. Whatever. It was a whole thing in the book. But when they saw the way Alan testified and how cold he was about the murder of his wife just months prior, right, and that he got married within this whole, they were just he makes her look like a saint, and he didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Right. And he didn't do, and her family was just really yeah, he's the fucking worst.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that's the story of Candy Montgomery and Betty Gore.
Damn.
Yeah.
Dude, how many times have you been pissed and an axe come into the equation? Never. Do you own an axe?
Never. No, I don't think so.
I do.
No. Do you? Mm-hmm. I a couple of times I've almost bought one to go camping and stuff because I'm I could probably chop wood or something, right? But then I'm I can buy wood for $5, so I'm not going to chop it.
Yes.
So I haven't had the use of an axe yet.
Axes are very heavy and just very
cumbersome,
rude. It's a rude It's not neat.
No.
It's never neat. It's going to be a messy endeavor.
Yeah.
Whatever you do is going to be a messy endeavor.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, yeah, why an axe would come between two women?
Well, and, like, that's the thing is, her story is, like, where did this fucking axe even come from?
Thank you, right?
Like,
whose
where did
axe was it?
It was her. It was the Gore's axe.
Okay.
It was from their garage. It was their axe.
Right.
So, like, her story is that she went into the garage and came back wielding this axe. But, like, there were knives, there were scissors, she was sewing when she got there. Like, there were plenty of other things she could have wielded at her.
Right.
Over an axe.
Also, another woman comes at you because you've been sleeping with her man and she like, is going to swing an axe at you. Are you going to fucking go to town on her?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? I know no.
Yeah.
I know no.
I mean, she says initially, like, she was able to stop her, calm her down, and that she was, like, trying to get the bathing suit and trying to just leave, and that Candy put her hand on Betty's arm and was like, I'm really sorry, Betty. And when she put her hand on Betty's arm, Betty fucking lost it and grabbed the axe again, and she went, like, batshit, attacking Candy. And then Candy, when she shushed her, she went batshit. So, like, her story is that two women went totally batshit on each other, and she happened to be the one that won. Like, that's a lot, What's
to say that Candy wasn't just already annoyed, went into the garage, grabbed the axe, walked in, just started chopping up her name?
Why would she? Why for?
Who knows whatever triggered her?
You could just knock her out with the end of the axe, like just hit her over the head.
But I mean, like, for real, their affair had ended for 8 months before, like, really, and she was moved on to another guy, and she was working on things with her. Like, why? Like, and I think that's what gave them so much reasonable doubt. It was like, why though? Why would she do that?
So Betty went to the garage, had the axe ready for when what's-her-name came in for the swimsuit?
That's the
and
thing.
The peppermints?
That's the thing that, like, is... No, because I don't think she knew she was coming. She showed up there because she thought that the daughter was going to get dropped off. She didn't know they were going to ask her to stay the night. She showed up there, knock, knock, knock. Hey, the girls want to have a second sleepover. Can I get her bathing suit? I'll take her to swim class for you. They talked about sewing. They talked about the puppy. They talked about the baby. And then, like, the way Candy describes it is that something that she said made Betty realize that they must have slept together. She had witnessed a phone call that was a little too long about church. There was just, like, a little things that maybe, like, Betty was putting the pieces together, and her appearance there just made it, like, all click together. But we don't know, because as far as Alan Gore is concerned, she didn't know.
Candy hiding so much.
Definitely.
Definitely. There's no way that they would have a whole conversation and then out of nowhere, Betty's just going to have an axe and start
two
whacking.
And two together, right, yeah.
Absolutely not.
Right.
An axe is just too sloppy.
It's very sloppy.
So, it just grabbed a knife and just started stabbing.
I mean yes.
Seriously.
Well, they were in, initially they were in the kitchen. They were,
It's just so much easier. It's just as messy.
I mean, it's way easier, I would think, because axes are very cumbersome. They're very huge.
Exactly.
And I think it said it was 3 feet long.
Jesus Christ. I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, you should watch it. Yeah, I started watching it on Hulu. It's good.
I can't wait.
Yeah, you should check it out.
Interesting.
Yeah. And Jessica Biel really looks like her. If you go to the reel-to-reel, you go...
Right. The pictures?
Yeah, where they show the real person and the whatever. Both actresses.
I love that for her.
Melanie Linsky, she really looks like Betty Gore.
Oh, good.
I think they did a really good job.
Oh, good.
They did a really good job. Like,
I can't wait.
Yeah, you should check it out.
Watch it. So that's it for us. We'll see you next week. But in the meantime, subscribe so you don't miss out. We have about 130 episodes that you can catch up on. Write a review. We've had some love. It says best pod. This is the best podcast. These two are absolutely amazing at this. I mean...
Nobody cares about Cindy.
They're probably listening from the beginning.
I thought that too.
And have the best vibe. And oh my gosh, I find myself laughing with them so much. I tell everyone I know who listens to podcasts to look them up.
Yes.
To look them up.
Yes.
Okay, and another one. I love this podcast. This is Team Court, Nate, and Anna Banana.
Oh, hey.
These gals have me, all caps, hooked. Food, true crime. How could you go wrong?
You couldn't.
You can't. You can follow suit.
You can.
You can follow suit.
You can be like those good and fantastic listeners who gave us a good review.
Honest citizens.
Yeah.
They would never wield an axe against us.
Never, ever.
Never. Not even in self-defense. So...
Thank God.
You can connect with us literally everywhere. Do a little Googling.
Uh-huh.
We are the Crime Diner.
On all the things.
On all the things, Crime Diner Pod on Twitter. Check you out next week. And remember, do not get taken to that second location. Be good or be good at hiding a body. Cheers.
Are you okay? Jesus Christ. You're so fucking loud. You're disgusting and I hate you both. Oh god, I'm crying. Oh my god. And holding my pee because I almost fucking peed myself.